The office is already quiet when the door closes. Burbank, late 1937. Warner Bros. Studios. A corner office with thick walls and heavy drapes pulled halfway shut, letting in just enough California light to catch the smoke hanging in the air. Cigarettes burn slowly in glass ashtrays. Paper sits stacked in neat, disciplined piles, legal paper. Bette Davis is already seated. Her posture is straight, too straight, hat still on, gloves folded carefully in her lap. She has not been offered a drink. She has not asked for one. Across the desk, Jack L. Warner does not rise when she enters. He does not smile. He does not reach for a cigarette. He looks at her the way men look at time they believe they own. For several seconds, no one speaks. This is not awkward silence. It is calibrated. Bette Davis breaks it first, because that is how these meetings usually go. She smiles. Not a wide smile, a controlled one, the kind she uses on press photographers, the kind that signals confidence without surrender. "I think we both know why I'm here," she says. Her voice is calm, polite, professional, not defiant. Jack Warner nods once, barely. He does not answer. Instead, he reaches for the folder in front of him. The sound it makes when it slides across the desk is soft but final, cardboard against polished wood. Warner opens it slowly as if time itself works for him. Bette Davis watches his hands. He flips past the first page, then the second. He stops halfway through the contract, turns the folder toward her just enough so she can see the page number. He does not explain. He does not raise his voice. He simply taps one paragraph with his index finger. Once. Then he leans back. And says nothing. The room changes. The air feels heavier as if the silence has weight. Bette Davis leans forward instinctively, eyes scanning the paragraph. Dense language, cold language, language that does not care how famous she is or how many awards she will one day win. She recognizes it immediately. The suspension clause. The loan-out authority. The part of the contract that does not discuss acting. It discusses permission. Her smile holds for a moment longer, just long enough for anyone watching to notice it no longer reaches her eyes. Jack Warner keeps looking at her, not aggressively, not triumphantly. Patiently. He knows exactly what she's reading. And he knows exactly what she's realizing. Everything she thought this meeting was about, it is. This was never a negotiation. For years, Bette Davis has been Warner Bros.' most valuable problem. She delivers performances no one else can. She transforms weak scripts into prestige. She commands the camera with something sharper than beauty, intelligence, defiance, fire. Audiences love her. Studios fear her. Because Bette Davis does not play the game quietly. She questions scripts, she refuses roles, she knows her worth. She knows when she's being loaned out to inferior productions as punishment, not opportunity. And she has finally had enough. This meeting was supposed to be different. She came prepared, calm, strategic, not emotional. She expected resistance, maybe even anger, but she expected a conversation. Jack Warner has given her something else entirely. Silence. In Hollywood, silence from a studio head is not neutral, it is instructional. The paragraph on the page gives Warner the right to suspend her contract indefinitely if she refuses assigned roles. No pay, no releases, no work elsewhere, just time, empty time, the most dangerous thing an actress can be given in the 1930s. Davis looks up from the contract. Warner does not look away. No one else in the room moves. This is the moment when Bette Davis understands something fundamental about power in Hollywood. It does not argue. It waits. She straightens in her chair, clearing her throat softly. "Jack," she begins, careful now, "you know I've never refused work without reason." Warner finally speaks. His voice is even, almost bored. Reason isn't part of the clause. That's it. No threat, no insult, no raised voice. Just a statement of fact. The room goes quiet again. Bette Davis feels it land, not as an attack but as a boundary. A line drawn without drama, a reminder that talent lives inside permission structures it does not control. She has built her argument around performance, around value, around the belief that Warner Bros. Needs her. Jack Warner has built his around paper. Contracts do not care about value, they care about compliance. She presses once more because she has always pressed once more. You can't afford to waste me, she says. This time, Warner does not even look at the contract. He looks at her. We can afford time, he says. The sentence is quiet, almost gentle. It freezes the room. Because everyone understands what it means. Time without roles, time without momentum, time where the industry moves on without waiting, time that erases even the brightest stars if they are not visible. This is not punishment yet. This is leverage. Bette Davis sits back, her gloves remain folded, her hat stays on, but something has shifted in her face. The smile is gone now, replaced by calculation, anger held tightly behind composure. She realizes that Warner is not trying to break her. He is reminding her who can. The meeting ends without resolution. No raised voices, no slammed doors, just a quiet understanding that nothing has changed except everything. As she stands to leave, Warner closes the folder. The sound echoes louder than it should. She pauses at the door for half a second, long enough to consider saying something sharp, something memorable. She doesn't. Because she now understands the danger of speaking when the room belongs to someone else. She leaves. And the door closes softly behind her. What Bette Davis does not know yet is that this moment will not stay in this office. It will follow her. Into courtrooms. Into contracts. Into history. And it will force her to make a decision that could end her career or redefine it. The silence does not end when Bette Davis leaves the office. It follows her down the hallway, past assistants who do not look up, past doors that close more softly than usual. The studio lot outside is loud with activity, but it feels distant, insulated. None of it belongs to her in this moment. Jack Warner remains seated after she leaves. He does not light a cigarette, he does not make a phone call. He simply sits there letting the decisions settle into the building. That is how power works best, not through repetition, through expectation. Within days, the consequences begin to appear. Scripts arrive with the same roles she has already rejected, weak parts, decorative women, characters that orbit men rather than challenge them. The message is subtle but clear: accept what you're given or accept nothing. Bette Davis refuses again. This time, the response is immediate. She is suspended. No announcement, no press release, just a memo, brief, clinical, written as if it were weather. Her name disappears from production schedules, her parking space is reassigned, her agent's calls are returned slowly if at all, in meetings she is not present for, her future is discussed as an inconvenience. The industry notices. Not publicly. Privately. Other actresses begin to adjust their behavior, fewer questions, softer objections, everyone understands what is happening even if no one says it aloud. This is the hidden consequence of silence: it disciplines more than it punishes. Davis decides to fight. Not emotionally, legally. She leaves the country and files suit in England, exploiting a jurisdictional gap she believes can free her from the contract. It is a bold move, rare, dangerous, almost unheard of for an actress at her stage. Warner Bros. Does not respond with outrage. They respond with patience. The legal team prepares carefully, not to crush her publicly but to outlast her, delay, complicate, exhaust. Every hearing becomes a reminder of what she is risking, not just her current contract but her reputation. Studios do not like actors who challenge structure, they remember. In the courtroom, Davis argues that the contract is unjust, that it limits her artistic growth, that it abuses her labor. The judge listens politely and rules against her. The decision is calm, thorough, reasoned. It affirms the contract. It affirms Warner's authority. It affirms the system. Bette Davis loses. And when she returns to Hollywood, nothing is said about it directly. No gloating, no lectures, no warnings. Jack Warner meets her again briefly, cordial, professional, as if the lawsuit never happened. But something has changed. She is no longer just difficult. She is documented. The suspension is lifted, roles resume, better roles, stronger scripts, the studio adjusts just enough to keep her profitable. But the cost remains. Davis has learned the limits of resistance, the price of speaking too loudly, the precision with which power can be applied without ever raising its voice. And Warner has learned something too. That even when challenged, the system holds. That paper outlasts performance. That silence wins. The public will later romanticize this period as a victory for Davis, a brave stand, a turning point. But inside the studio walls, the lesson is colder. She was allowed back in, on terms she did not write. The fear was never meant to destroy her. It was meant to define her boundaries. And it worked. Because from that moment on, every negotiation, every disagreement, every smile across a desk carried the memory of that contract being opened and the room going quiet. Years later, Bette Davis will describe herself as difficult. She will say it with a half smile, a line ready for interviews, a word that sounds almost playful when spoken by a legend. But in 1937, sitting across from Jack Warner's desk, that word had a different meaning. It meant manageable risk. After the lawsuit, after the suspension, after the quiet loss in a foreign courtroom, Davis returns to work. Warner Bros. Assigns her stronger roles, more prestigious films, performances that will eventually define her legacy. On the surface, it looks like victory. Inside the system, it looks like containment. Jack Warner does not punish her again, he doesn't need to, the precedent has been set, the rules clarified, the boundaries understood. She is watched now. Not aggressively. Institutionally. Every refusal is noted, every complaint logged, every negotiation filtered through the memory of that office, that paragraph, that silence. Davis feels it. She does not speak about it publicly, but she adjusts. She chooses her battles carefully. She channels her defiance into performance, not contracts, into the screen where it is profitable and controlled. Hollywood applauds her strength. Hollywood also keeps her on a leash. This is the haunting part of the story. The system did not break her. It trained her. And in doing so, it sent a message far beyond one actress. Other actors watch what happened to Bette Davis. They watch her talent fail to protect her. They watch legal courage meet contractual reality. They watch how the studio never raises its voice and still wins. They learned. Not from speeches. From silence. Jack Warner will later be remembered as blunt, ruthless, even cruel. But in this moment, he is something more precise. He is patient. He understands that power does not need to humiliate publicly. It only needs to be demonstrated once, clearly enough that it never has to be demonstrated again. The contract clause he tapped that day remains in effect for years, not just in Davis's agreements but in countless others. Language copied, refined, strengthened. Paper remembers. Hollywood becomes more careful after this, not kinder, more procedural. Disputes are moved out of rooms and into documents, out of voices and into clauses. Power learns to speak softly because it no longer needs to speak loudly. Bette Davis goes on to win awards, to give performances that outlast the studio era itself, to become an icon of defiance in retrospect. But the defiance people celebrate is selective. It is the defiance that survived. What they do not see is the negotiation that ended before it began, the moment where a smile met a paragraph, where a conversation became a reminder. In later years, Davis will fight again, against ageism, against typecasting, against irrelevance. Sometimes she will win, sometimes she will not. But she never forgets that office. Because that was the day she learned the real hierarchy. Not talent over power. Not fame over authority. But permission over both. The room in Burbank no longer exists in the same form. The desk has been replaced, the contracts rewritten, the studio system officially dismantled. But the logic remains. Today, when an actor is sidelined without explanation, when a project disappears into development, when silence replaces negotiation, that logic is still at work. Not loudly. Not defiantly. Quietly. On someone else's terms. And that is why this moment matters. Not because Bette Davis lost. Not because Jack Warner won. But because Hollywood learned it didn't need to crush resistance. It only needed to demonstrate once how small even the biggest stars become when the room goes quiet and the paper stays open. And once that lesson was learned, it never needed to be taught again.